Awesome.
Well, a lot of times you hear people say it's the drummer that drives a band, right? It's the drummer
No,
that's
it's the bass player in that band right there, for sure.
that's for sure. I mean,
He does it all, right? He's playing in two, and it's really hip. He plays some hemiola stuff, and then he walks like crazy in four. There's a great video of him all over YouTube because the Cotton Club band got filmed quite a bit because of its fame. Wellman was the big star, signing autographs galore when he walked out of the club. He had like a book of stamps that he made of himself, and he'd just give you a stamp, and he was a big star.
That's great, and you hear this, you hear the star. I mean, it comes out of the sound. It's like, yeah,
the writing is so good; it sets it all up for these guys to shine like crazy. I mean, what genius is that?
Yeah,
and when you watch the footage of Wellman, he's a big dude with a big chest. He's commanding presence over this band. How does he project the bass that fantastic? There's no amp,
right?
So the drums got to play quiet.
Yeah. And
it's amazing.
And also,
and he's got the bow in his hand the whole time when he plays too. For some reason, he doesn't use a bow quiver, so he's like holding the bow with his hand,
right.
playing.
Also, taking advantage of the percussive aspect of the instrument there.
Yeah, right. It's like a precursor to slap electric bass when you think about it.
Yeah. He's getting that slappy kind of rhythmic thing. It's not just plunking strings, but it's percussive as well.
But the notes are all really in tune. I think these guys, because they started on violin when they were young children, or trumpet. And everybody in New Orleans plays trombone. It seems like you have to play. Like if you don't play trombone, you're not allowed into the family or something. Everybody plays trombone in New Orleans. But when you play those instruments at a young age, you tend to have perfect pitch, and they play so in tune all over the bass. The bass is a bitch to play in tune. I don't have perfect pitch, and a lot of my notes are kind of out of tune because I don't have absolute pitch. These guys, no problem.
Yeah, and that's something that I thought about too. Yeah, that training on a little violin, very specific sound, and then moving over to this big thing, and it's got to be incredibly helpful to train your ear before moving on to this big unwieldy instrument with the big thick strings and stuff.
Wellman's related to the Marsalis brothers.
That's right,
and there's a good documentary stuff on him, and the Marsalis brothers come on there talking about their relative Wellman.
Yeah, incredible. That whole New Orleans thing.
I guess everybody's related to each other down there. It's like one big family.
Yeah.
One big crazy family. Yeah.
So our next tune is Blue Skies, and it's a guy named John Kirby that maybe isn't quite as well known as some of these other guys we're talking about.
I didn't know that much about him, and I included him on the list that we were putting together. I was doing some preliminary, top early bassists, and when he came up and then I did a little homework on him, I was like, well, this guy has to be included because he was really the first guy, from what I understand, to lead the band from the bass, which Mingus is going to do to great effect later. But so this guy needs to be, and then we look at his discography and it's like, okay, this guy goes on the list for sure, right?
Yeah, this recording we're doing is the John Kirby Sextet. So you've got a bass player who's the headliner, so to speak. He, I guess, kind of brings a kind of sophistication to kind of his playing, and he was a Virginia guy. So what's also interesting is, we get these early guys are all from New Orleans, and then as we go through this list, they start spreading out a little bit. Virginia, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, and eventually New York. So you see, geographically as the music's beginning to spread through the country.
Yeah, and Kirby's like a more sophisticated guy. He's really into classical music. He's a very intelligent guy who's good at math and drama, right? And he's, well-read, and he wants the music to be more like what you would call like chamber music as opposed to, ruckus jazz. He wants to bring some sophistication to the whole thing.
Right, and it says that when he arrived in Baltimore in 1927, he met trombonist Jimmy Harrison, Coleman Hawkins, Duke Ellington, And it was Harrison who persuaded him to switch from trombone to tuba. And so, that tuba background is still here, and then Fletcher Henderson, he started as a tuba player there.
Yeah. And that's one of the main think tank bands that people are a little bit asleep on. Fletcher Henderson's band, because Coleman Hawkins was in that band, and the way Coleman Hawkins played tenor in that band, it was like a circus instrument. And then Louis Armstrong had a short stint in the band, and Coleman Hawkins got to sit next to Louis Armstrong. And Coleman Hawkins realized that the tenor should not sound like the circus instrument that he had it sounding like. It should sound like the cello that he grew up playing. So Coleman Hawkins adapted his tone on the tenor to the cello that he used to play when he was a boy, and Louis Armstrong's kind of pure melodic style. And he puts that onto the tenor and adds his piano math knowledge, and that's the birth of the tenor saxophone. And that's in Fletcher Henderson's band.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys that came out of Fletcher Henderson's band go on to become the foundation of the music, like Duke's band, like Count Basie's band. Fletcher Henderson's the other one, him and Don Redman did the arranging for the band, and Fletcher Henderson's the fountainhead of the modern swing style. It's like the sound of machinery coming down on the industrial age of these, the trombones play, and now the saxophones, and then the trumpets come at you, and then da-da-da-da-da. That kind of swing arranging style, that's Fletcher Henderson's concept. He wrote all of Benny Goodman's arrangements.
Huh. Interesting.
And
so
him and Don Redman, yeah.
Yeah, so Kirby switches to bass with Fletcher Henderson, and then takes bass lessons from the first two guys on our list, from Pops Foster and Wellman Broad.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
So he gets, connected with those guys, and so let's listen, to a tune off his album with him leading his group. It's called The Biggest Little Band in the Land is the name of the album, and it's Blue Skies with the John Kirby Sextet.